Good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss.
Good morning, all.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Miss.
Miss. Good morning, Miss.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Miss.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss.
How are you all doing?
Fine.
Did you watch the science lecture video?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
we are.
How was it? How did you find the lesson? Was it hard?
Oh.
No.
Very easy.
It's very easy and you are excellent in science, right?
Yes.
Right.
I'll give 2 more minutes for your friends to join us.
Okay.
Asim, good morning.
Good morning, Miss.
How are you? I'm so happy that you are with us.
Yeah. Like a month ago, my mom had corona. I don't know how to say it in English. And
She had corona. It's okay. How is she
no,
now?
عندها عور corona كمان بس. She
Yes,
tested
we do not talk in
negative.
Arabic with Miss Fatin. How is she going now? Does she feel better?
Now, well, yeah.
Okay, great. Ali Hamoud and Ali Rida Hamoud,
And
how are
my
you
friends,
doing?
Good morning.
Great. Let's start. Who's this? Okay.
Hi, Miss Fatin.
Hi. How are you, Kareem?
Miss Kareem is not with 5B.
It's okay.
Kareem in 5A.
Okay, Kareem, 5A's class is at 10 o'clock. But if you want, you can stay with us. I don't mind. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, dear ones. What do different organisms feed on? According to the way they get their food, organisms are classified into 3 groups. What are these 3 groups, ya Kassab?
3 groups.
Yes. According to the way they find or they get their food, organisms are classified into 3 groups. What are the 3 main groups of organisms according to the way they get their food? Lana, can you please help us with this? This question is for you and Kassab.
Miss
يلا يا
Fatin.
كرعوني. يلا يا كرعوني.
Yes, Miss.
What are the 3 groups of organisms according to the way they find or they get their food? We have organisms that produce their own food and organisms that eat it. And organisms that
Producers and decomposers.
and producers, decomposers, and what is the
And
third?
consumers.
And consumers. Excellent job. The 3 groups of organisms are producers, decomposers, and consumers. What I want you to do, guys, is to mute yourselves. Okay, I will count till 5. You should all mute yourselves, and when I call your name, you can answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yusuf, what are producer? What's a producer? What are producers? Yes.
They make their own food.
Perfect.
They make their own food.
Okay. Producers are also called autotrophs since they produce their own food. And what do we call the food making process?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Perfect. Who are the producers? Shriya Lana. Who are the producers?
The producers?
Yes. What is an example of a producer?
Example of a producer. Alga?
Okay, great. The alga is a green plant. So green plants are producers. They have chlorophyll in their leaves. The chlorophyll helps them catch sunlight energy needed to make photosynthesis. So green plants use their roots to absorb water from the soil. They take in carbon dioxide using the stomata of their leaves. And they use the sunlight energy to mix water and carbon dioxide together. Then, by photosynthesis, these plants produce glucose, which is their food, and release oxygen to the outside. What about decomposers? Yalla ya Hadi. Hadi, give me an example of decomposers. Is Hadi with us? Ali Hussein, what is an example of decomposers?
Fungi.
Fungi, great. Aya. Ali Hussein said fungi. Can you give me another example of decomposers?
Miss.
Yes, Hadi. Yes, Hadi.
Miss earthworm.
Earthworms. Who said earthworms?
That's me. Think so.
Bravo ya Kassab. Fungi, earthworms. Aya and Hadi, no answers? Zayich.
Snails. Snails.
I tell you. Bacteria.
Bacteria. Good job, ya Hadi.
Can I say
bacteria.
one?
Yes, you can, Yarama.
Insects.
Do you know
Insects.
the
Bravo,
pill
Hannah and Farah. So, bacteria, fungi,
Mama, it's a pill bug.
earthworms, snails are examples of decomposers. These organisms decompose or break down dead bodies for food. Consumers. We have 3 types of consumers. Yalla ya Malak. What is Malak Salhab? According to what they eat, so we call them consumers because they consume their food. And there are 3 groups of consumers. What are these 3 groups, ya Malak? What are the 3 groups of consumers? Ali Hamoud, help me with this. What are the 3 groups of consumers?
Group of consumers.
Yes?
Yes, can I say one?
Rena, what are the 3 groups of consumers? Tala?
Yes.
Animals that feed on plants only are called what?
Herbivores.
Herbivores. Perfect. This is the first one. What is the second one? Animals that feed on animals only.
Carnivore.
Carnivores. Perfect. And the third group of consumers, what is it? Omnivorous animals. Good job. And don't forget that herbivorous animals are also classified into 5 classes. Herbivores, herbivores, granivores, herbivores, frugivores, herbivores, nectarivores, and herbivores, sapsuckers. Yes. Carnivorous animals are also classified into 5 classes. Carnivores, insectivores, carnivores, piscivores, carnivores, bloodsuckers, and carnivores, scavenger. So producers produce glucose, decomposers decompose dead bodies, consumers consume plants and animals, and all of this to get the energy they need to live and grow. So food, even for us, food is the source of energy for living things. Kasab, there are lots of noise coming your side, so please mute yourself, Habibi. Thank you so much. Kasab, mute, please. When you want to give an answer, you can unmute yourself. So again, these organisms do this to get the food they need, and this food is the source, is the thing that gives them energy. We have 4 organisms: a green plant, a slug, a frog, and a heron. The green plant produces glucose. The slug eats the green plant. So the green plant now is the source of energy for the slug, like I said last time. Please unmute yourselves and talk with me and answer this. What does a frog eat?
Teacher, the source of the frog.
Yes.
Insects.
What does it
Insects.
in this slide, what does the frog eat?
The slug.
It's food. So who gives the frog the energy?
Slug.
It's the slug. Excellent. What does the heron? The heron, what does it eat?
The frog.
It consumes the frog. So it's the frog that gives or provides the heron with the energy it needs. Yalla, together, let's say this food chain. The green plant is
By the
the green plant is eaten by the slug.
frog is eaten by a frog.
The slug is eaten by the frog. Good job.
The frog is eaten by a territory.
The frog is eaten by the heron. Perfect job. This is called a food chain. What do we call it? I didn't hear you. What did you say? Food chain. This is a food chain, and organisms are classified in order or are arranged in order in this food chain. All food chains must start with a producer. Here is the producer, which is the green plant. All food chains finish or end with an animal. Okay? The first element, the plant, is eaten by a herbivorous animal. Then the herbivorous animal is eaten by a carnivorous animal. A food chain can be composed of 3 elements, 4, 5, 6. The green plant is eaten by the slug. The slug is eaten by the frog. The frog is eaten by the hare. غنى. يلا يا غنى. What is the name of the producer in this food chain?
Green plant.
The green plant. Good job. يلا يا مصطفى. Mustafa, why do food chains start with green plants? What do food chains start with? With a plant. علي رضا حمود, Thala, Lana. What do you think? Why all food chains start with a green plant? Why didn't we put an organism before the green plant?
Because green plant don't eat. Because the green plant don't eat.
Perfect. The green
produce.
plant doesn't eat, it produces. So does another organism give the plant its energy? Well, it makes it by its own.
Oh.
It makes it by... Okay, so we cannot put anything before the green plant because there is no organism that gives the green plant the energy it needs. The green plant is excellent, like my students in 5B. Green plants make their own food. They use the energy from the sun to make their own food. So no other organism can give them the energy they need. Okay? Yalla Ali Rida Hamoud. What are the 3 consumers in this food chain?
Yes, I didn't study.
It's okay, it's okay. You know the answer. What is a consumer? يعني an organism that eats. You have 4 choices.
Consumer?
Yes.
The hero.
Wait. It's Ali Rida's turn. Ali Rida, you have green plant, slug, frog, and heron. Are they all consumers? No, they are not. So name 1 consumer.
No. 1 consumer? Hero?
The heron. Excellent. Bravo. Rama. Ali Rida said heron. Say something else.
The frog.
The frog. Perfect. Bravo. Ahmad Watfa, good morning. The heron, the frog are consumers. And what is the 3rd consumer in this food chain? Ali Hashush. What is the 3rd consumer in this food chain? We said the frog is a consumer. The heron is a consumer. What is the 3rd one?
The slug.
The slug. Excellent. The slug. So the slug, the frog, and the heron are consumers. The slug, the frog, and the heron all together. Is the slug a herbivore or a carnivore?
Herbivore.
Herbivore. The slug eats green plants. So it is a herbivorous animal. What about the frog and the heron? The frog eats slugs. The heron eats frogs. So they are both carnivorous animals. Look in here. Green plants produce their own food for energy. This energy, when the green plant is eaten by the slug, moves or transfers to the slug. Then, the energy in the slug will move to the frog when the frog eats the slug. Then, this energy will move to the heron when it eats the frog. This is what happened in green plant, in food chains. What is the producer in here? All of you. Give me the name of the producer.
The grass.
The grass. Bravo ya Hassan. It's the grass. The grass is the producer. Okay, let's read this food chain all together. All together. Unmute yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
The grass.
Start. The grass.
The grass.
By the
The grass is eaten by the
By
grasshopper.
the frog. The frog.
eaten by the snake.
The grasshopper is eaten by the frog.
Bird.
Snake is eaten by a hog.
By
Hog
the
is eaten by a fungi, which is
The frog is eaten by the snake.
By the snake.
Snake eaten by the
hog.
The snake is eaten by the hawk. Listen to me.
hawk.
No, stop. Right here, stop. Because decomposers do not eat. Okay, be careful. Decomposers do not eat. I will repeat. The grass is eaten by the grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by the frog. The frog is eaten by the snake. The snake is eaten by the hawk. The producer is eaten by the primary
I want to tell you
consumer.
something.
Okay. Yes, who is this?
Me.
Yes,
Hey.
Hassan.
There, I see a big grasshopper on the tree.
Wait. Are grasshoppers are grasshoppers herbivores or carnivores?
It is
Herbivores.
herbivores.
Grasshoppers are herbivores. Yes, Hassan Karaouni, what did you want to tell me?
The oak is decomposed by the decomposer.
Excellent. The whole is decomposed by the decomposer. Let me continue. Okay, guys, look at this.
Yes.
The first consumer, so this is a producer. The grass is a producer. The first consumer is called primary consumer. It's the first one. Primary consumer, it's number 1. Since the primary consumer eats producers, it eats plants, so it is always a herbivorous animal. It is always a herbivore, okay? The secondary consumer, the second one, number 2. The secondary consumer is a carnivore since it eats the primary consumer, which is a herbivore, okay? I will repeat. The primary consumer is the consumer number 1 that eats plants, that eats producers, and producers are always plants. So the primary consumer is always a herbivorous animal. It is always a herbivorous animal. The secondary consumer eats the first consumer, which is an animal.
The life is lagging.
So all of the other consumers are carnivores. The first one is herbivore, the others are carnivores. So producer, Ali Hashush, don't write on the screen. Producer, grasshopper or primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, which is number 3, tertiary consumer. The apex predator, the last one, is not eaten by any other organism. There are organisms in nature that aren't eaten by anyone. No one eats them. So the hawk in here is the last consumer and it is the apex predator. This means that it is not eaten by anyone. What about the decomposers? When the grass dies, when the grasshopper dies, when the frog dies, when the snake dies, when the hawk dies, all of them, when they die, their bodies will be decomposed by decomposers, like Hassan Karaouni said. Decomposers will decompose their bodies into minerals and minerals are back to the soil. How does energy move in an ecosystem? Let's read this food chain together. Ready? 1.
Ready.
2. This happens in a desert. Let's read it together.
Yes.
The green plant is eaten by
The grasshopper.
the green plant is eaten by the grasshopper.
Is
The
eaten by the
grasshopper is eaten by
The mouse.
the mouse. The mouse is eaten by
Eaten by a
Snake.
snake.
the snake. The snake is eaten by
Eaten by a
Hawk.
hawk.
the hawk.
I miss you, Miss Patton.
Way more, Yalana. Okay, look. Here is the producer. The producer produces its own food. Primary consumer. First consumer is a herbivore since it eats plants. Okay. And all of the others, the mouse, the snake, and the hawk are carnivorous animals. Don't forget that the last animal that is not eaten by anyone is called the apex predator because no one eats it. Okay, for this reason we call it apex predator. What do we call it? What do we call it? Apex predator.
Apex predator.
The hawk in here is the apex predator since it is not eaten by anyone. Let's see the ocean food chain. A food chain in the ocean. Yalla, let's read it together. Algae are eaten by, okay, tiny consumers. Tiny consumers are eaten by shellfish. Shellfish are eaten by small fish. Small fish are eaten by large fish. Large fish.
By the large fish.
Okay.
The large fish eaten by the killer whale.
That's right. Who is the producer in this food chain? Who is the producer?
Alga. The alga.
The alga. The alga is the producer. It makes its own food. Who is the herbivorous animal in this food chain? Who is the herbivorous animal? Tiny consumer. What about the carnivorous animals? Carnivorous animals. Shellfish, large fish, small fish, that's large, that's right.
Small fish, large.
Any other carnivorous animal?
No.
Yes, killer whale.
The killer whale, perfect. The shellfish eat the consumers. So they are carnivores, 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 and carnivores. Who is the apex predator? Who is the apex predator?
The killer whale.
Why do we consider it as an apex predator?
Because nobody eats the whale.
No other organism eats the whale. Okay, look at the large fish. Who eats the large fish?
The killer whale.
The killer whale. So we say that the large fish is the prey of the killer whale. The large fish is eaten by the killer whale. So the large fish is the prey. Prey is an animal that is eaten by another animal. Okay? طيب, what do large fish eat? What do they eat?
Small fish.
Small fish. So we say that large fish are predators of the small fish. They are predators. Predator is the one that eats the prey. Yalla, let me ask you some question. Who is the prey of the shellfish? Who is the prey of the shellfish?
Large fish.
Small fish.
لحظة يا أبطال.
Tiny consumers.
Wait a minute. We're talking about the shellfish. Who is the prey of the shellfish?
The tiny consumers.
The tiny consumers. The tiny consumers
Yes,
are the prey of the shellfish. طيب, who is the predator of the shellfish?
The small fish.
The small
fish.
The small fish. Let's talk about small fish. Okay? I'm talking now about small fish. Who is the prey of the small fish? Who is the prey of the small fish?
The shellfish.
Shellfish. And who is the predator of the small fish?
Large fish.
The large fish. Excellent job.
Fish.
So an animal can be a predator and a prey at the same time. It eats another animal, but is eaten by another animal. So it can be predator and prey at the same time. Look at the large fish. It is a prey, but it is also a predator. It's the prey of the killer whale and it's the predator of the large fish. Okay? Let me share with you this. This is a food web. Sometimes we put lots of food chains together to build a food web. What is it called? What is it called?
Food web.
food web.
Food web. Okay. Name the producers in this food web. I think I need to change.
Corn.
Mangoes and
Corn. Flowering plant. Lavender.
That's right. All the plants.
All the plants are producer.
All plants are producers. I will. One second. Okay, here is a food web that starts with only one producer. Who is the producer in this food web? Who is the producer?
the grass.
It's the grass. This is the producer. Let's circle the primary consumers. Ghina and Farah, don't write on the screen. Who are the primary consumers?
Snake.
The snake is the primary consumer. Don't forget that the primary consumers are herbivores.
Grasshopper.
The grasshopper is a primary consumer. What else?
Mouse.
The mouse.
And the lizard.
The
rabbit.
The rabbit. Primary consumers eat plants.
The rabbit eats carrots.
Primary consumers eat plants. The grass is eaten by the grasshopper. So the grasshopper is a primary consumer. The grass is eaten by the rabbit. So the rabbit is a primary consumer. The grass is eaten by the mouse. So the mouse is the primary consumer. Like I told you, primary consumers eat the producers, eat the plants. So to find the primary consumers, you need to look for the plants. You look for the plants, then you start saying, who eats this plant? The grass is eaten by the grasshopper. The grass is eaten by the rabbit. The grass is eaten by the mouse. So how many primary consumers are in this food web? How many primary consumers?
3.
There are 3 primary consumers. Excellent. There are 3 primary consumers. When there is more than 1 primary consumer, we call this a food web. When there is more than 1 primary consumer, we say that this is a food web and not a food chain. In a food chain, we have 1 primary consumer, 1 secondary consumer, 1 tertiary consumer, and 1 apex predator. Who is the apex predator in this food chain? Who is the apex predator? The hawk. Why is it an apex predator? Why do we call it an apex predator?
Because nobody eats
The hawk is the apex predator because it's not eaten by another organism.
Animal.
Oh, another animal, that's right. Okay? Type. Who can read one food chain from this food web? Who can read or find a food chain in this food web? Who wants to try? Ali Hussein, do you want to try? Asim.
Yes, what you said.
Mustafa, I need you to read a food chain in this food web.
To try what?
What was the question?
Read a food chain in this food web.
To read a food chain?
Yes. From the beginning till the end. Read a food chain. I will start, okay?
Like the grass is eaten by the grasshopper?
Yes. Yalla yalla.
Eaten by the
Yalla yalla.
grasshopper.
Miss, can I try?
Yalla.
The grass is eaten by the grasshopper.
Yes. The grasshopper
is eaten by the mouse.
The mouse eats the grasshopper. Where is the arrow between the grasshopper and the mouse? The grasshopper.
The grass is eaten by the grasshopper.
Okay.
The lizard is.
No.
The grasshopper is.
The grass is eaten by the grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by who? You have 2 choices.
Miss, I know.
The
You
lizard.
can choose whatever. By the lizard. And the lizard.
Eaten
by
the.
So this is 1. Bravo Yaran, Alana. Repeat it. Repeat it quickly.
The grass.
I know one.
Yalla Yalana. The grass is
The grass is eaten by the grasshopper.
Okay.
The grasshopper is eaten by the lizard. The lizard is eaten by the hawk.
Thank you, Yalana. Excellent job. Yalla ya Kassab. Kassab, say something else. Choose another food chain, ya Kassab.
Okay. The mouse is eaten by the grass.
لحظة, لا. The grass. You should start with the grass. The grass.
That is eaten by the mouse.
Okay.
The mouse is eaten by the snake.
Excellent.
The snake is eaten by the hawk.
Perfect job. Yalla. We have less than 1 minute. I will say the last one. The grass is eaten by the mouse. The mouse is eaten by the hawk.
And the rabbit is eaten by the hawk.
That's right. The grass is eaten by the rabbit.
The grass is
eaten by the hawk. So all of the food chains that you're going to say